My older sister doesn't care much about money. She always says the one thing she had no choice about was inheriting our parents' multi-million-dollar company. Later, my sister sold a company branch just to buy her boyfriend a cruise ship. As a result, she and our brother went separate ways. When choosing between them, I picked my sister, who wanted freedom over money. However, I got scolded for eating leftover meat and beaten for wearing clean clothes. Even when I tried to get back the bed they took from me, I was screamed at and kicked out of the house. You're just like your money-obsessed brother. All you care about is spending cash on food, drinks, and partying. I can't stand any of you. Later, my sister's boyfriend owed massive high-interest loans, but forced me into prostitution to repay them. I cried and begged my sister to save me. She just frowned and said, "He's your future brother-in-law. Why can't you earn some money to help them out? Don't act so selfish like your brother. Families should always help each other." In the end, I died of an illness and was thrown into an alley where rats gnawed at me until there was nothing left. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day my sister sold the subsidiary company. My older brother and sister asked me who I wanted to go with. My boyfriend wants to buy a cruise ship for fun. As his girlfriend, what's wrong with me spending some money on him? Money can't buy happiness, you know. All you ever do is babble about money, money, money all day long. You're as tacky as our parents. I'm selling this company today, no matter what. If you try to stop me, I'll cut all ties with you. Hearing this, my elder brother finally couldn't hold back. He slammed the table and shouted, "Fine. Let's cut ties then. I've always turned a blind eye to how you spent money on your boyfriend. Even when you drained the company's funds, I never blamed you. But now you're eyeing the subsidiary our parents left to Ava? No way." My sister looked at us with pity, as if we were hopelessly corrupted by money. She shook her head and told me, "Ava, your little company is tearing me and your brother apart. But since you're still young, I won't blame you. If you abandon this money obsession, I'll be your guardian." My sister twisted the facts and blamed me for all her mistakes, but my brother pulled me behind him and said, "Clearly you're the love-struck one, recklessly spending on that man. Stop dumping all the blame on Xiao Ko." Looking at the same scene from my previous life, my heart began to race. My sister stood by the door, arms folded, looking as serene as a lotus rising from muddy waters. My brother, on the other hand, angrily loosened his tie and rustled through his papers with sharp, noisy flips. In my previous life, I thought my sister's attitude of treating money like dirt was cool. Compared to my brother, she seemed gentle and level-headed. I was sure she'd be a good guardian and role model. Without hesitation, I chose to leave with her. But after moving out and living alone with my sister for 2 years, I realized my older brother's hot temper was actually because of her. Thinking of how I died tragically on the street in my previous life, my body left in pieces, I chose my older brother, without hesitation this time. "Brother, I don't want sister. I want you to be my guardian." My brother, who had been angrily flipping through the documents, suddenly froze. His eyes widened in surprise, and the furious pallor on his face began to fade. My sister raised her eyes, glanced my way, then shook her head with a helpless sigh. "As expected of siblings, your behavior is exactly the same. Forget it. You money-obsessed commoners will never understand the truest, purest feelings in the world, the kind money can't buy." My elder brother frowned, not wanting to listen anymore, and quickly said, "Since Ava chose me as her guardian, don't even think about the subsidiary anymore. You've been complaining that the company has held you back ever since you took over. Now I'll grant you that freedom. I'll find someone to take your place, so you don't need to come in starting tomorrow." I stepped in then and added, "Sister, I remember you still hold quite a few shares in the parent company. For someone as noble as you, they must feel like a heavy burden, right? How about?" My sister looked at me, her chest heaving heavily a few times before she quickly composed herself. She forced a weak smile, desperately clinging to her money-means-nothing image. "Humph, exactly. Money is nothing but a heavy shackle to me. I don't want any of it, not the company, not the shares. This pure, worldly detachment I've achieved, you'll never grasp it in your lifetime." After saying this, My sister turned to leave, but paused at the door. She looked back and told me solemnly, "I hope you won't regret this." I sneered to myself. Following my brother in this life, I'll live in luxury. What's there to regret? As for her, will she regret her choice when she's broke someday? In my last life, when I sided with my sister, she quickly sold my company branch for cash, bought a luxury yacht for her boyfriend James. The two of them left me behind and sailed off on a luxury cruise for 2 months. They didn't come back until they ran out of money to pay the sailors. James was a jobless troublemaker with no real work. He squeezed into the small house my sister rented along with his mother and sister. After moving in, they acted like they owned the place and started making all sorts of unreasonable demands. They wanted a 5-star chef to cook their meals and a nanny to handle their daily chores. And they kept buying luxury goods every day. My sister smiled and said they had good taste and always aimed high, unlike my brother, who just clung to his measly pennies. So, she spent money on James' family without hesitation. But their luxurious lifestyle only lasted 2 weeks before her credit card got maxed out. Left with no choice, James' mother made my sister do the housework. But my sister had never even wrung out a rag, so how could she clean? So they forced me to do the chores instead. At that time, I was in the middle of preparing for my college entrance exam. I complained to my sister and told her how upset I was. But she said, "If you can do it, just do more. It's not like you'll lose a limb. Don't be like your brother, who only cares about himself. That's so selfish. Family should always help each other." Seeing my sister didn't take my side, I cried alone in secret. But there was nothing I could do. Even my own sister refused to speak up for me. How could I count on anyone else? I lost all my standing in this family. To save money, James' mother made me wash clothes by hand in the freezing winter. As a result, my hands became covered in painful purple chilblains the size of coins. The purple, coin-sized chilblains hurt and itched terribly, making it hard for me to even hold a pen properly. Later, after working hard to cook a meal for the whole family, they wouldn't let me eat with them. Instead, they forced me to stay in the kitchen and eat last night's leftovers. When the weather turned cold, Emma tossed me an old dress she didn't want anymore. But as soon as I put it on, she started screaming that I stole her clothes. Without a word, James's mother grabbed a hanger and started hitting me, calling me a mother-born but motherless little beggar. My sister saw everything but stayed silent. Even after James's mother finished beating me, my sister comforted her by saying, "Auntie, she's loved money since she was little and developed all sorts of bad habits. Don't get so angry over her that you make yourself sick." Seeing that my sister didn't mind them bad-mouthing me like this, James' family pushed their luck even further. They even took over the storage room, my only resting place. The storage room was small and dark, barely fitting a narrow 1.2-meter bed. After a tiring day, I could only curl up there to sleep. But now they started piling all kinds of junk there. Emma even put the puppies she found a few days ago on my bed, making the once clean bed dirty and messy. When I tried to drive the dog away, my sister said, "You're just as bad as your brother. You only care about spending money on yourself. You won't even let the puppy sleep on your bed for a bit. You're so heartless to kick the poor dog out. You're just cold and cruel." Listening to my sister's screaming scolding, in that moment I finally understood what my brother had been through. All I wanted was the basic necessities like food and a place to live, so I could survive in this family. But even wanting this was called selfishly chasing money. James's family had clearly been spending all our money. When the money ran out, he borrowed from loan sharks. When the debt collectors showed up and James couldn't repay the debts, he set his sights on me. James wanted me to sell myself for money. He said that a virgin high school girl could get a good price. Terrified, I cried and begged my sister to help me. But my sister just frowned and said, "He's your future brother-in-law. What's wrong with earning money to help him? Don't be selfish like your brother. Families should support each other. What's wrong with earning money to help your future brother-in-law? Don't be selfish like your brother. Families should help each other." In the end, I died from an illness and was dumped in an alley. The rats gnawed at me until nothing remained. I never want to go through something like that again. Why would I ever regret leaving her? After our parents died, the company was left for my brother and sister to run. But in fact, my brother is the only one actually running things. My sister simply used her position to funnel company funds to James under the guise of legitimacy. Even with all these advantages, she kept complaining that money was just a dirty thing holding her back. However, my sister didn't practice what she preached. She claimed to hate money, but her daily life completely depended on it. Open her walk-in closet, and every piece inside is a luxury brand. She has every luxury bag imaginable, each needing millions spent on other items just to get them. None of her clothes or accessories cost less than 1,000 yuan. Not only that, she has a personal stylist visiting her home monthly for nail and hair styling. She has someone carry her bags whenever she goes shopping. Which of the luxuries she enjoys could exist without money? It's so hypocritical. Clearly, she's the one who wants both the image of being noble and a life of luxury and indulgence. Yet she still has the nerve to accuse me of chasing fun and my brother of being selfish. She's such a hypocrite. In this life, without my brother and the family's financial support, I can't wait to see how my sister, who claims she doesn't care about money, will manage. Just as I was thinking, a commotion erupted downstairs. It turned out that my sister's shameless boyfriend showed up at our house with his own sister. The two of them sat on the sofa, legs cocked in that arrogant way, and announced with their noses in the air. My girlfriend said she's giving me that company, so now it's mine. I've already picked out a cruise ship. Now I just need the money. No backing out now. Is Ava, still a little kid, really fit to own such a huge company? It'd be smarter to just sell it for cash and let me spend the money. Emma chimed in from beside him. The shameless behavior of the two siblings was exactly the same as in my previous life. But unlike last time, this time my brother was here protecting me. My brother, tall and strong, immediately pulled me behind him and pointed at James' nose, growling, "Watch your mouth." So, what if she gave you a verbal promise? It holds no legal weight. Besides, the ownership of that subsidiary belongs to Ava. What's the point of Olivia's promise? And Olivia has cut all ties with us. Legally, she's not my sister anymore, so her problems aren't mine to handle. When James and his sister heard, "cut all family ties," their eyes popped wide open in disbelief. Emma quickly grabbed James' arm and said, "What's up with our sister-in-law? Making a big decision like cutting family ties without even talking to us first. Besides, how can you just cut her off like that? She's still AA's sister, right? Shouldn't she get something?" Emma kept winking at James, hinting they should take something from us. The siblings were cut from the same cloth. James instantly caught her drift and turned to us. "Exactly. Even if Olivia's cut ties with you, she's still got me family blood in her veins. As her brother, you owe her compensation. Just hand over that company to Olivia." The siblings were clearly scheming, trying to milk our family for all we were worth. My brother usually dealt with well-mannered professionals every day and had never encountered anyone as rude and unreasonable as them. He stood with a stern face, unsure how to answer. Under the siblings' watchful eyes, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. "What's so funny?" Emma glared at me with an eye roll. I wiped the laughter-induced tears from my eyes and said calmly, "I'm laughing because you can't take a hint. The subsidiary is mine. Only I can decide if it stays or goes. Need me to say it again?" "You..." James swung his fist in anger, but my brother's sharp glare froze him mid-motion. I continued, "Also, didn't you get the full story? My sister hasn't just cut ties with us. She also gave up all the family's companies and shares. Basically, she's flat broke and has nothing left now. She said that's the only way she can live up to her fancy image of not caring about money." James and Emma stood there frozen in shock. It took them ages to snap out of it. "What? Doesn't care about money? Is our sister-in-law nuts?" My brother didn't want to talk to them anymore. He called the community security guards, and soon James and his sister were escorted out. Before leaving, my brother had a change of heart. After so many years as siblings, He still cared about our sister and didn't want her to suffer. If you want to share, have Olivia come talk to me herself. Thinking of my sister's proud look when she left, I wasn't thrilled, but I wanted to see if she'd truly live up to her words, being above money and not chasing after every penny. I waited for days, but my sister never showed up. However, the parent company managed by my brother had problems. Because my sister took money from a company's account to spend on James, which caused financial difficulties in the capital chain operation. And various new projects couldn't move forward as scheduled. My brother was so busy every day, his face etched with worry. Meetings of all sizes were held from morning till night, as he kept discussing ways to solve the problem. It hurt me to see this. So, I took the initiative to suggest to my brother, "Brother, look, the company is having such a hard time right now. Why don't we sell the subsidiary for some quick cash?" My brother glanced at me. Just as he was about to refuse, I cut him off and said, "The subsidiary is profitable and has a bright future, so it should sell for a good price. It will definitely sell for a lot of money. With the money, the parent company can keep running. Brother, the parent company was our parents' life's work. I don't want to see it collapse like this." My brother's usually proud eyes grew moist after hearing this. He gently pinched my cheek and said apologetically, "Ava, I didn't do a good job, and I've let you down. But don't worry, once we get through this tough time, my brother will buy back the subsidiary. What are parents left for you? I'll make sure to keep safe." I wiped my brother's tears away and nodded yes. My brother loves and looks out for me. How could I be upset? But really, staying with my sister last time around was what made life miserable. My sister, who was supposed to protect me, ended up pushing me into the fire herself. And in the end, I died a tragic death with my body left in pieces. But luckily, I'm staying with my brother this time. So no matter how tough things get, my brother and I will stick together and get through this. Brother, you should sell the smaller company as soon as possible. First, it can quickly resolve the parent company's issues. Second, we don't know how many more tricks the James family might try. My brother nodded in agreement and had someone post the information that same day, because the subsidiary showed strong growth potential. The next day, someone reached out to my brother with a 50 million yuan offer, and they agreed to meet at the subsidiary company. Since it was the weekend and I was free, I went along with my brother. But I never thought I'd run into James and his mom at the subsidiary. 6. The buyer was very satisfied with the subsidiary and immediately offered to sign the contract and handle the transfer procedures on the spot. Just as the buyer was about to sign, James and his mother suddenly pushed aside the secretary blocking the doorway and barged in. James grabbed the contract from the buyer's hands and ripped it to shreds. Even after the pieces fell, the buyer remained stunned. Not only the buyer, but my brother and I also didn't expect James to be so bold as to make a scene directly in the company. "James, what are you trying to do?" My brother slammed the table and stood up angrily, jabbing his finger at James's face. Before he could answer, James's mother stepped in front of him, hands on hips. "Stop trying to scare my son. If you've got a problem, take it out on me instead. I'm just an old woman. But I'm old and have brittle bones. If anything happens to me, I'll make your family wait on me hand and foot for the rest of my life." My brother was furious, but couldn't lay hands on James's mother. Finally, suppressing his temper, he roared, "Get out now before I call the police." James and his mother held their heads high, pretending not to hear. The buyer stared blankly at the chaotic scene unfolding before him. Finally, he figured it out, and his expression darkened as he looked at my brother. "Mr. Me, I came all the way here in good faith, but you're trying to pass off a company tangled up in legal disputes. You have no morals. Good thing I didn't sign that contract, or I'd be screwed." Humph. After saying this, the buyer didn't give my brother any chance to explain and turned to leave. My brother followed behind, putting on several forced smiles, but still couldn't save the deal. Seeing the deal was about to collapse, James and his mother lit up with glee. Like petty villains who'd gotten their way, they screeched at the top of their lungs. Right. He's up to no good trying to trick you. This company's mine, I tell ya. Make sure to warn your friends so they don't get scammed." My brother clenched his jaw, looking absolutely furious. My brother wasn't known for his patience, and after being provoked time and again, he had reached his limit. Afraid that my brother would act impulsively, I quickly said, "Brother, let sister handle this." To deal with the James family troublemakers, she had to handle it herself. James and his mother didn't care. They plopped onto the sofa, picked up their teacups, and started making a scene. "Whoever comes won't change anything. This company is mine now. If you don't give it to me, we'll camp here forever. No matter who comes, I'm taking over this company today. If you don't do what I want, I'm not leaving." My brother turned away and angrily called my sister. After explaining everything clearly, my brother didn't waste words and demanded bluntly, "I don't care if you're busy. Get over here right now and take them away. Otherwise, you'll have to go bail them out at the police station later." My brother still spared her some face, but my sister didn't appreciate it. On the other end of the phone, her tone remained haughty and dismissive. I'll go." The James family would never act like that. Stop trying to sow discord behind our backs. An hour later, my sister finally strolled into the company. She walked into the office with her head held high and shot me a scornful look. Because I didn't join her back then, she now holds a grudge against me, her own sister. Seeing Olivia arrive, James quickly said, "Honey, you're finally here? Explain to these two right now that you had already promised to give me this company long ago. You promised it's mine. Once you give something away, you can't take it back, right?" After hearing this, my sister looked visibly uneasy, her expression growing awkward. But she still held her head high with an air of icy composure, like a pristine lotus rising above the mud. My sister considered herself above material wealth and saw money as dirt. She could only pretend to stay calm and sit next to James. She picked up the teacup, took a slow sip, and then said, "What's the big deal? Why fight over some crummy companies? Since they're clinging to their material stuff, just let them have it. So you don't end up reeking of money." James and his mother were stunned by my sister's money stinks theory. James jumped up from the sofa, yanked my sister aside, and demanded, "Are you crazy? Do you have any idea how much this company is worth? That's a full 50 million yuan. I couldn't earn that much even if I worked 8 lifetimes. The money that's practically in my pocket, and you're just going to casually give it up? And expect me to just hand it over? In your dreams." My brother and I glanced at each other and sneered in unison. My sister lived with us for many years, and her money stinks theory had often subjected us to her toxic views, and in the past, I had suffered even more from them. Even when I was just reclaiming what was rightfully mine, my sister would brand me as selfish. Now I couldn't wait to see how she'd handle her own greedy boyfriend. Seeing my brother and I sitting back, ready to enjoy the show, she felt embarrassed, her face flushing with growing discomfort. But in the end, she stiffened her pride and pushed James away. "Why do you want so much money? Wanting too much just makes you miss out on the fun of life. There are many things in the world that money can't buy, like love."
"I'm all yours, James."
Isn't that enough? James' mother, who had been listening in, rolled her eyes hard when she heard this. She was so furious that she spat on the floor. The James family was all the same. James also flew into a rage when he heard this. James jabbed his finger at my sister's forehead and snapped, "To hell with your joy of life and your bullshit love. Without money, you can't do anything. I don't know what money can't buy, but I know money can sure as hell buy my happiness. I only care about money. You've been spoiled in luxury since childhood. You've grown up in luxury. What gives you the right to tell me not to want money? Olivia, I've been with you this long. You think I don't know about your shopping sprees? Quit pretending you're above material stuff. It's nauseating. Haven't I seen your money-flushing habits? Stop pretending you're above real life. It's disgusting. I'm taking this company, no matter what. Either get your brother to agree, or else just wait till you get home and see how I'll teach you a lesson." My sister was stunned by the sudden outburst and couldn't react right away. She couldn't believe her gentle-speaking boyfriend had suddenly become a different person. Before she cut ties with us, She lived the wealthy life of the Me family's eldest daughter, holding onto the family group shares. Of course, the James family had to kiss up to her. But times have changed. Did she still believe her love with James was unbreakable? James, we've had 3 years together after all. My sister looked hurt. Can love alone put food on the table? Shut up if you're broke. My sister stood there, stunned and speechless. She couldn't believe her boyfriend would say such things. After a long moment, her eyes reddened with quiet sobs. But she still refused to humble herself. Fine, I can't talk to you shallow people. If that's how it is, handle your own problems. I'm done here. Since that's the case, deal with your own problems. I don't care anymore. After saying that, my sister straightened her back and turned to leave. Olivia, wait. My brother suddenly called out to stop her. I jumped, startled, fearing my brother might soften and try to bring her back home. My sister was thinking the same thing. She glanced at my brother with a proud smirk and said, "Humph, don't even try to make me stay. Living with you two selfish people just makes me feel dirty inside." My brother sneered and said with a hint of exasperation in his voice, "Don't forget to come sign the paperwork giving up your shares tomorrow. And be punctual this time. After all, you're never on time. So, I'm just reminding you, don't get the wrong idea." My sister bit her lip, embarrassed. Seeing the look on her face, as she tried to hold back her anger but couldn't, I couldn't help laughing. As expected, the only thing you two care about is money. Don't you worry, I'll be there right on time tomorrow. With that, my sister stormed out. 9 the next day, my sister was already waiting at the company entrance early. She was dressed in white, simple yet elegant. People who didn't know her might think she had an otherworldly air. However, the assortment of bags and luggage around her made her look out of place. My brother glanced over and quipped, "What?" Even the James family couldn't keep their precious White Lotus anymore. My sister shot him a scornful look and declared with her chin lifted high, "I've thought it through. I'm probably meant to be alone, so it's no wonder I can't live with you vulgar folks who reek of money." My sister was still putting on an act, but I knew it must be because James didn't get the subsidiary company he wanted, which was why she was kicked out by the James family. I shot my brother a look, urging him to sign the papers right away. My sister didn't miss a single move. She suddenly stood up and pulled a knife from her handbag. My brother was startled. He pulled me into a hug and demanded, "What's gotten into you?" while pointing at our sister. My sister pulled a section from her bun, raised the knife, sliced it off, and tossed the hair into the air. As the strands of hair fell, my sister declared, "From this moment on, I have no connection with either of you." My brother and I exchanged a glance, simultaneously twitching the corners of our mouths in disbelief. During the document signing, my brother stayed completely silent, terrified my sister might pull another crazy stunt. They soon finished signing the documents. My sister didn't stay. She left in a hurry with all her bags of luggage. Watching her walk away, I thought it was pretty funny. Living in this world, what part of life, food, clothes, housing, or getting around, doesn't need money? I wonder if my sister will still cling to her money stinks philosophy once she's starving. In the end, my brother was too kind. He didn't send James and his mother to the police station and just had security kick them out. But the truth is, you shouldn't show mercy to people like that. One day, my brother got a call from his secretary, Mr. Me. Some troublemakers broke into our branch office and are wrecking everything. Please come here right away. My brother was supposed to take me to dinner, but he got so mad he immediately turned the car around and sped toward the subsidiary. On the way, I called the police. Oh, please. They thought they could mess with the company and get away with it? As if we're pushovers. After hanging up, I told my brother, if you're too nice, people will walk all over you. You've given them plenty of chances already. Don't go easy on them this time. My brother nodded firmly. When we got to the branch office, James stood on a desk yelling at his gang buddies to smash computers. Guys, everything here is mine. Smash whatever you want and have fun. James would destroy anything he couldn't have. My brother quickly rushed over and kicked James off the desk. In an instant, all the thugs froze mid-action and turned to stare. Seeing this, James's mother rushed over, shielding him behind her. "How dare you hit my son, you little monster," she yelled. "This company belongs to us now. My son's just having fun with friends here. None of your business." James's mother was still acting just as stubborn and unreasonable as she had in my past life. My brother frowned, his eyes filled with obvious disgust. "Let me make this clear one last time. This company belongs to my sister Ava, not Olivia. Either leave right now, or you'll all be going to jail soon." James burst out laughing, twirling the wrench in his hand. "Huh? Think you can scare me? I ain't leaving." "What are you gonna do about it?" he sneered. Right after he said that, police sirens rang out nearby, right on cue. Chapter 11. When the police showed up, James and his mother finally toned down their cocky attitude a bit. My brother and I were ready. We presented the company's ownership papers and said, "Officer, this business is my sister Ava's private property." James and his mom brought people here to cause chaos, damaging the company badly. We insist they all be arrested. James and his mother came here with a group to cause trouble and have already caused a lot of damage to the company. I demand they all be arrested. James wouldn't back down until he was faced with undeniable proof. He walked casually up to the police, took a cigarette from his pants pocket, offered to light it for them, and said, "Hey, don't listen to his bullshit. This company is my girlfriend's. We're getting married in the future, so what's hers is mine after all. I just brought some buddies here to hang out. My brother-in-law is blowing things out of proportion and dragged you into this. My brother-in-law is just nosy and narrow-minded. He can't stand seeing us do well, so he lied to get you all here." With these words, James twisted the truth, making my brother look like the bad guy. Fortunately, the police weren't fooled by James's act. They needed solid evidence for everything. After reviewing the legal documents provided by my brother, the police scolded James. "You keep calling it your company, but this official document clearly states the owner's name is Ava in plain writing. Is your name Ava? You'd better apologize to them right now, or you'll regret it when they come after you." The company was thrown into chaos by James and his crew, with numerous electronic devices of all sizes damaged. Of course, this wasn't some minor issue that could be fixed with a simple "sorry." "I won't accept just a verbal apology," I said immediately. "You must cover the full cost of all the damaged items. I'll get someone to list out each one." My brother gave me a look of approval. "And I'll also claim compensation for the losses from the shutdown during equipment repairs." As I was speaking, James's mother suddenly faked a fall, dropping to the ground while holding her chest and moaning.
"Oh,
"My chest is killing me. I can't take it anymore. Get me to the hospital now." The police officers immediately saw through Mrs. James' terrible acting. They were used to such tricks and calmly called their colleagues to help carry her into the police car. The police car didn't go to the hospital, but drove us all to the police station. At the police station, we met my sister, one of the involved parties who had been summoned earlier and was already waiting there. As soon as James saw my sister, he exploded. "God damn it. How dare you show your face here? When we were together, what did you promise? You swore you'd treat me right. In the end, you won't even hand over the company. Your sister framed me and got me arrested. Olivia, you're unbelievable. 3 years of my love and devotion might as well have been thrown to the dogs." Listening to James' accusations, my sister's eyes gradually turned red, like she felt deeply wronged. Suddenly, without warning, she swung her hard leather bag at me. Fortunately, my brother reacted quickly and pulled me away, making my sister's sudden strike miss its target. My brother was furious and shouted, "Olivia, have you lost your mind? You're attacking your own sister." My sister glared at me, teeth clenched. "So, she still remembers I'm her sister? James is going to be her brother-in-law. Soon we'll all be one family. How could she be so cruel? She's completely heartless. James is her future brother-in-law. Soon we'll all be one family. How could she be so heartless? Her heart's completely rotten. It's just a crappy company. How is that more important than our family staying together? How is that more important than my happiness for life? Why do you only care about money?" James and his mother stood behind my sister with their arms crossed, looking pretty pleased with themselves. My brother looked at my sister's hopeless state and didn't bother to say anything more. He sighed and said, "Choose between paying compensation and going to jail." Hearing this, James's mother panicked, grabbed his hand, and cried, "Son, you can't go to jail." Upon hearing this, James' crew quickly chimed in, "Boss, we only went because you told us to. You gotta back us up." James glared at us angrily. "Fine, we'll pay. Olivia's right. You're all just greedy money-obsessed jerks." I sneered to myself. Well then, I'll show you just how greedy Ava, can be, I held up 5 fingers. James glanced at my hand and readily agreed. "Just 50 grand? Easy. I can cover that." I grinned and said, "Oops, my bad. You got it wrong, it's $50,000. Upon hearing this, all 3 of them started swearing at my brother and me again. I tuned them out. After stating the price, I grabbed my brother's hand and left. My brother patted my head and smiled. "My dear sister, you're one smart cookie. 500,000 yuan will keep them scrambling to gather the cash for ages. Now we can sell the subsidiary without a worry." I didn't deny it. That was part of the reason. The other part? I knew James couldn't scrape together 500,000 yuan himself, but loan sharks could. 13 after that incident, James finally settled down. But then it was my turn to keep the fire burning. I asked someone to get James' phone number and sent him reminders to pay back the debt every few hours, forcing him to go to loan sharks as soon as possible. When my sister found out, she naturally took Jam's side. "Ava, has her conscience gone to the dogs? You demanded an outrageous amount of 500,000 yuan from your brother-in-law, and now you're still non-stop pestering him. Just take my life too then." Since James couldn't get the money together, he would surely take it out on my sister. It's no surprise she wasn't doing well. But who could she blame? It was all her own fault. I replied, "First, you're not my sister anymore, so James is definitely not my brother-in-law. It's only right I demand compensation from the vandal, so James will never be my brother-in-law. It's only natural I demand compensation from a vandal. Second and finally, I'm giving you 1 more week. If you still don't have the money by then, just wait to rot in jail." Shortly after the message was sent, the person monitoring James reported his whereabouts to me. Sure enough, he went to where loan sharks gathered. Loan sharks make it easy to borrow money, but hard to pay it back. James, just like before, James sank into a deep hole of loan sharks. Without James and his family interfering, the subsidiary was successfully sold for 50 million yuan. My brother used the money on the parent company, and soon the company was back up and running, and many projects resumed. I believe that without my sister stealing money from the company, the parent company will keep getting better under my brother's leadership. A few days later, Jam showed up at our door, looking brand new. He had a cigar in his mouth, his hair was slicked back, and he casually threw a bank card over. "It's just 500,000 yuan paying you back." He took a puff of his cigarette and said arrogantly, "Don't mention 500,000. I'm now worth millions." My brother and I watched James showing off in silence. After all, there's nothing to envy about money borrowed at the cost of one's life. James answered a phone call at our place, and I vaguely heard the words gambling and usury. It made James rich overnight, but his old vices remained unchanged. He delusionally hoped to make money through gambling. Unfortunately, gambling has always been a losing game throughout history. James casually threw the cigar butt on the ground and left with confident steps. My brother looked at his departing back and let out a deep sigh. I knew he was worried about our sister. She wouldn't have a good life with James, but my brother had already done everything he could for her. I comforted him, saying, "Brother, don't blame yourself. It's our sister who stubbornly clings to her wrong ways. We can only respect people's fates." My sister's fate in this life was obvious. In my previous life, when the debt collectors came to the door, James pushed me out to pay off the debt by selling my body. But in this life, with my brother's protection, they couldn't touch me no matter what. So, who else could sell their body to pay off the debt? 15 in my previous life, Because of my sister and James' family, I wasn't able to take the college entrance exams properly. In this life, free from these people, I no longer have endless housework or nights without enough sleep. I spent more time and energy on my studies, and my grades noticeably improved. A month later, during the college entrance exam, my pen flowed effortlessly across the paper. After the college entrance exam, I calculated my possible scores and felt fully confident. As long as there are no surprises, I can pretty much pick any top university in City A. My brother was thrilled to hear this and rushed to take me car shopping as a graduation gift. Anyway, learning to drive was inevitable anyway, so I didn't decline. I just didn't expect to run into James' family and my sister. James nitpicked every single one of the million-dollar cars, cursing at the salesman assisting him. His behavior was disgustingly crude. Now he was decked out in shiny jewelry, smelling like a piggy bank, doing the exact kind of trashy behavior my sister always hated. But instead of scolding him, my sister smiled warmly at him. She was even holding an ashtray so James could flick ash off his cigarette. My brother shook his head and told me, "Don't mind them. Let's pick one you like." As I left the store and got into the car, just as I was about to shut the door, someone grabbed it. Turning around, I saw my sister had followed us out. She still gave me a scornful look and said casually, "Sis, hasn't life been rough since you sold the company? Why bother acting tough in front of me? As long as you apologize to James and call him brother-in-law, I can get him to help you." I couldn't help laughing at the absurdity. My brother rolled his eyes at my sister, like she was an idiot, then closed the car door for me, and we hurried off. Sitting in the car, I counted the days since then. Based on my past life, the debt collectors should be arriving any minute now. My sister would soon learn who's begging who. 1 month later, on a quiet evening as my brother and I were getting ready for bed, the door suddenly started rattling with urgent knocks. We saw James' face on the security camera. He'd been beaten black and blue, with several teeth knocked out. James knelt at the door, clasping his hands and rubbing them frantically. "Please, for Olivia's sake, lend me money. I'll do anything to repay you. Please, or they'll kill me." I knew clearly that neither my brother nor I would agree, and we definitely wouldn't open the door. So we silently watched James rubbing his hands together anxiously on the surveillance screen for half an hour. He poured out every kind word he could possibly think of, but we stayed cold-hearted and unmoved. Suddenly, an arm reached into view from off-screen. A hand grabbed James' hair and yanked him away. On the empty surveillance screen, only James' blood-curdling screams remained. My brother had someone ask around and discovered that James, recklessly bold, had taken out a $5 million loan from loan sharks all at once. With the interest piling up, he couldn't pay it back at all. The next day, I got a call from my sister after a long time. "Ava, James is going to be your brother-in-law. How can you just watch him get beaten by loan sharks? Now, of all times, you can't be so selfish. Family is supposed to help each other." I hung up before she could finish. My sister refused to give up. She bombarded my brother and me with endless calls and messages for days. My sister didn't give up. She kept calling and texting my brother and me every day for a week. Finally, after a week, she stopped. When my brother and I called back, the number was disconnected. Sensing something was wrong, we immediately contacted the police. After searching for over half a year, they finally found James trapped in an underground fighting ring. When James was found, he had a heavy iron collar around his neck. His face and body were covered in animal scratches and bites, with none of his limbs left unharmed. He had turned into a wild beast, attacking anyone in sight. The police arranged for him to be sent to a specialized hospital, where he would spend the rest of his life locked in a tiny room. The police tried to contact Emma and her mother, but they had completely disappeared without a trace. A few months later, a woman's body was found in an alley. She was extremely thin, showed signs of horrific abuse before death, and had contracted syphilis. By the time she was discovered, rats had eaten away most of her flesh. Because the body was found too late, the woman's corpse had been eaten by rats, leaving almost no flesh intact. My brother patted my shoulder and said, "Everyone's got their own path. This is what happens when you keep doing bad stuff, as we stared at the news photo of the dead woman. After a long silence, my brother patted my shoulder and said, "People get what they deserve. This is what happens when you keep doing bad things. Yes, what goes around comes around. They got exactly what they deserved."